understand that. I'm gonna come just forward just a little bit.
Okay. You're fine.
Well, as I was preparing this morning, I got a text, kind of out of the blue. I wasn't expecting it. It was from a friend of over 30 years. And we talk about anywhere from 3 to 5 times a year. But he texted me and he says, "What's Yom Kippur all about?" And it kind of set me, it's just like, I've been talking to this guy, you know, for at least 25 years about this walk, and now he's going, "What's this all about?" So I texted him back, and he shot me another text, says, what does this mean? So I shot him another text, and it's like, I'm thinking, Father, what's going on here? And so, hopefully when I get back to Colorado, I'll be able to visit with him a little bit and maybe find out some answers and see where, you know, where he's at. 'Cause I've been talking, he's one of the fellows that I used to stay with when I started traveling a lot. And so I would bring these things up to him, and it's like, you know. And then this may shock some of you, but he was the first one I said, "I'm not a Christian anymore." That really threw him for a loop. Didn't stop our friendship, it just threw him for a loop, because he didn't, you know, then I had to explain what I was talking about. All right.
Excuse me.
What's that?
So can you just briefly say how you explain what you are now?
I'm a child of the gospel. I'm a child of the King. Put it another way. So, but a lot of times we use the term messianic, which kind of hones in on a certain lifestyle and a certain way of belief and living. Okay, so labels is my friend Dean Wheelock used to say, labels are for soup cans.
That's good.
So it's kind of hard to, you know, really put a label on something. Celebrating, you know, or observing, let me put it that way, this day, Yom Kippur, or Day of Atonement, as most of you know it as. So on Yom Teruah, last week when I talked on Yom Teruah, no, that was what, 10 days ago. I was talking about what led up to, from the time of Shavuot all the way up to Yom Teruah, and it talked about Jacob's trouble. Now, some of you heard it. It's recorded. Amanda's put it up on the website. So if you missed it, if you want to watch it, you can go to there. But just briefly, that time period is just a time of Jacob's troubles. It's a time of hard testing. Okay, just to sort of, so then we came to Yom Teruah, which is the announcement part of your king is coming. Prepare yourself, get ready. And then I went into, and I was talking a little bit about the 10 virgins. Okay, and I was using that. So if you want to go to Matthew 25, because I'm going to go ahead and pick it up there. But let me kind of set it up a little bit here. And another thing with Yom Teruah, it's you know, it's also the time that it's announcing that your groom is coming. I like to say king because that to me is a little more explanatory as far as we're looking for our king. We're looking for Yeshua to come. Now, I went through verse 9 from 1 to 9 of chapter 25 to set up what Yom Teruah was about, and just kind of, huh? Matthew 25, chapter 25, verse 1 through 9. And what it's about basically is you have these 10 virgins, 5 are wise, 5 are foolish. And I think many of you have heard this parable. And so it got down to the point where, they were awoken, and what that means is they came to life again. There was a time period in there, then they came to life, and then they had their lamps. I used that one last week. I'm going to use this one today.
You look so proud of yourself.
Guess where I found this? Guess where I found this?
Out in the yard somewhere.
Out in the yard somewhere. But they had their lamps. 10 of them had their lamps. And some of them didn't bring extra flask of oil. They just had whatever oil was in their lamp. And so they wanted more oil. 5 of them wanted more oil. Well, they asked the 5 that did have oil, give us some of your oil. And those 5 said to them, we can't. You have to go and buy it from the merchants. We can't give you any of it. Otherwise, they would not have enough possibly for themselves. So, those 5 took off. They left. And they're buying oil. Now, I'm not gonna explain something to you about the oil. I'll do that in a few minutes here. All right, so let's go down to verse 10. Now these are the ones who are ready. Okay, so verse 10. And while they were going away to make the purchase, those 5 foolish ones, the bridegroom came, and those who were ready, and I'm going to stop right there for right now. Those who were ready. What made them ready? They had extra oil.
They were there.
And they didn't have to go off to the merchants to buy anything. They had what they needed. They were prepared. They were ready. All right. And so, now the bridegroom comes, and they went in with what it says here is they went in with him to the wedding feast. All right. So I think most of us understand the whole terminology about the wedding feast. This is what we're waiting for. Now, when do you think the wedding feast takes place?
Sukkot.
Sukkot, which we're coming up to here in 5 days. Okay, the wedding feast represents Sukkot. So these 5 that were ready went in. All right, and as the remainder of verse 10 says, and the door was shut. Now let's understand that whole terminology, the door was shut. So what does that mean, the door was shut? Well, that means if you close a door, it's shut. If you have a lock on it, like we used to have some doors around here, that if you shut the door and it's locked, you can't get it back open. Unless you're on the inside. But anybody on the outside cannot come in. All right, and if you're on the inside and you go out and you can't get back in, we used to have the problem with the front door that way, and the people couldn't get back in. It's like, oh, somebody forgot to unlock the door. All right, so they were inside at the wedding feast. Now, those 5. Now this is my opinion. When the groom came, those 5 were inspected. They were inspected. Now what do I mean by that? In order for them to enter into the kingdom or into the door, into the wedding feast, they had to be chosen. Okay, now you've heard me talk about this many, many times. Some of you haven't, but they were chosen. All 10 of them were called. I want to make that clear. All 10 of them were called, but only 5 were chosen in this parable. And so when the groom came, the inspection took place, he says, come along now. And now they get to the door, and then they go in. That's what that, well, you can't really see it because the chair's in the middle, but that's what that door is back there represents. Entrance into the kingdom of heaven. It's just a symbol, okay? It's just a something to visualize. And so that's what they did, is they went in and they went into the wedding feast. And I'll be talking about, during my time, I'll be talking about some of these parables that have to deal with the wedding feast. It's kind of an eye-opener. You know, how many of you are familiar with parables? I think all of you. Most of you are. Well, parables, for those of you who are not familiar, parables are for, it gives you a story using something you can recognize, but sometimes you don't understand it. What does it mean? And that's what we're going to explore during this time of Sukkot, because my teachings are going to be on the parables. All right. So the door is shut. It's closed. All right. Now, I'm going to go ahead and bring this up at this point. Going into that kingdom, going into that feast time, going into that door, or through that door, represents to me the first resurrection. You're right, I said it, the first resurrection. Now, what does that mean? Because most of us understand that, but some that don't. There are two resurrections. There's a first one, and then there's a last one. And the first one is coming into the kingdom of heaven. Now, where's this kingdom of heaven going to be located?
Jerusalem.
Huh?
Jerusalem.
Jerusalem, in that area, in that territory. In the territory that was promised to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. The territory that was promised to the children of Israel. That's going to be a physical appearance, a spiritual appearance, a spiritual entity that's going to have a physical appearance. And everybody's going to know, who's ever on the face of the earth at that time will know this is the kingdom of heaven. This is what has been promised since the time of the garden. And then it was told to Abraham. Then it was told to Isaac. Then it was told to Jacob. And then who was it told to? The children of Israel. They are the ones that carry this promise. We have to understand that about ourselves. We carry this promise if we believe in the kingdom of heaven here on this earth. And as I've talked before, that's the gospel, friends. The gospel is about the kingdom of heaven coming to this earth. Pure and simple. Very plain. That's what it is. And so, I want to reinforce that thought about the first resurrection. So, put a marker here, put something here in Matthew, because we're going to be coming back to it. And let's go to 1 Thessalonians. That's a little bit harder to find. So I'll give you just 3 seconds, 4 seconds. See, I've got a marker, so I'm just like, now, but which marker is it?
What chapter?
See, I can't even find it now.
I flipped right to it.
There it is, there it is. Oh, okay. Back, back, back. Apparently my marker's not there. What am I doing? Oh, there it is. Okay. First Thessalonians chapter 4. Man, you think this is my first time doing this? Well, maybe it is.
It's the first time this feast cycle.
That's exactly this. First time this year I've done this. 1 Thessalonians chapter 4. And I'm going to be in verse 15. And this is Paul speaking to the Thessalonians. For this we say to you by the word of Yahuwah, that we who are alive and remain until the coming of Yahuwah, or coming of Yeshua, the word of Yahuwah, shall not precede those who have fallen asleep, meaning their soul has died. Verse 16, for Yahuwah himself will descend from heaven with a shout, with the voice of the archangel, and with the trumpet of Yahuwah, and the dead in Mashiach shall rise first. The dead in Mashiach shall rise first. Now I know many of you have heard this. But this goes around, in my opinion, around between Yom Teruah and Yom Kippur. This is when this, in my opinion, takes place, okay? But it's dealing with the first resurrection, meaning Paul himself knew that there was another resurrection after this. Now, just a little bit of information for you. You know, is that it says in the scriptures and the gospels that the Sadducees did not believe in the resurrection. That's incorrect. They did believe in a resurrection. The second one, not the first one. Yeshua was teaching about a first resurrection. And that's what got him in hot water with the Sadducees. Because the Pharisaical sect taught about a resurrection before the final one, a resurrection into the kingdom. That's what they were teaching about. Sadducees didn't believe that. Maybe during Sukkot we can go through that. Maybe that could be one of our questions at our coffee time. Okay? So Yeshua was talking about a first resurrection, and there will be another resurrection after that. But most people know, the second one they know as the Great White Throne Judgment. Okay? Now, go to Revelation. Some of you, I think, are real familiar with this. Revelation chapter 20. Revelation chapter 20. And this, he's talking about, to set it up briefly, what's being revealed to John is it's coming after what most people know as the Great Tribulation. As I taught it last time, it's Jacob's trouble. It's Jacob's trouble. I want you to get that terminology in your brain. And so, he's talking about at the end of the millennial kingdom. Verse 5, down to verse 5, please. The rest of the dead did not come alive until the 1,000 years were completed. This is the first resurrection. So you have this first resurrection, then you have 1,000 years. Blessed and holy is the one who has a part in the first resurrection. Verse 6. Blessed and holy is the one. Wait a minute. Holy. What does that mean? Set apart. I see some of you mouthing it. Set apart. The ones who go into the first resurrection, or the ones who enter into the door of the kingdom, have been set apart. That's why I use the word chosen. They've been chosen to go into the kingdom. Now wait a minute, David. If we're using the analogy, if we go back to the virgins, if we go back to them, you mean 5 are not chosen? Yes, that's what I'm saying. But understand, I'm not the one doing the choosing. None of you in this room are the ones doing the choosing. That choice is all by the Father himself. Pure and simple. He's the one that chooses. Blessed are the holy, the set apart ones, who have a part in the first resurrection. Because over these, the second, over the first, the ones who go into the first, the second resurrection does not affect them. The second resurrection has no power. However, they will be priests of Yahuwah and of Messiah and will reign with him for 1,000 years. So those who go in the first resurrection are going to rule and reign with Yeshua. And more importantly to me, we're going to sit on the throne also with the word of Yahuwah. That's what Yahuwah promised his disciples. You are going to sit with me on my throne. And the word of Yahuwah sits on the throne of Yahuwah. And we will rule and reign with him for 1,000 years. Fascinating. I'm not making this up. I hope you can understand that. All right, back to Matthew.
David,
Yes.
but you should point out it's not by happenstance that they're chosen, because it tells you who's chosen in Revelation. Those that keep the covenants and commandments of Yahuwah and
Right.
Yeshua.
Very good.
That's the point that has to be made.
Yeah.
Okay.
What John wants to bring up is those who keep the commandments and hold to the testimony of the word of Yahuwah. In the Revelation passage, there's three of them that John's talking about. It's talking about hold to the testimony of Yeshua, or in the great Jesus. But actually, literally, you're holding to the testimony of the word of the Father. That you break it down, that's where it's literally what it
Well,
means.
that's what it says.
Huh?
That's what it says. It says the
Yeah.
testimony is the word.
Yeah,
So we're keeping the covenants that he's testified to us when he was on the earth,
Yep.
his testimony.
very good. Thank you, John. All right. So, back to Matthew 25. Verse 11. And later the other virgins, or maidens, I don't know what translation you might be using, also came. Now, I want you to, I should have pointed this out earlier. The word virgin or the word maiden there gives an indication that these individuals were not chasing after other gods. They were pure. They only believed in and they only worshiped Yahuwah. They only followed his word. So now wait a minute. If all 10 were virgins or maidens, they did not adulterate themselves. This is what I'm saying. They did not adulterate themselves with other gods. How come 5 of them didn't make it? It's an interesting thought. How come 5 didn't make it? How come only 5 made it in? It has to deal with the lamp. That's our picture. It has to deal with the lamp and the oil. So those maidens come to the door, knocking on that door, said, "Master, Master, open up for us." "Master, we're out here, open up." Years ago, I thought about this. John reminded me last week. How did those 5 know where the door was? Because they weren't in the procession. How did they know where the door was?
dare I say, hearers and not doers?
Yeah. Hearers and not doers. Other analogies you can use also. They had the word.
They knew Yeshua was the door.
Huh?
They knew Yeshua was the door.
Yeah, they knew Yeshua was the door. The word of Yahuwah was the door. That's what goes along with, in a minute, with the oil for the lamp. They knew where the door was. And this is part of the sad part about the way this turns out. Keep whatever you have here, turn back to Matthew 7. Now remember, let me just remind you that before Yom Kippur comes up and before Yom Teruah comes up, we have Jacob's trouble. We have great tribulation. And these 10 made it through that. Okay? They made it through that great tribulation. And now they're just waiting for their groom, their king to come. And so I want you to go down to chapter 7, verse 21. Now, Yeshua is warning his disciples. It's written down for us, so this is a warning to us. Am I making myself clear?
Yeah.
This is a warning to us. Verse 21, not everyone who says to me, Master, Master, will enter the kingdom of heaven. However, he who does the will of my Father who is in heaven. Many will say to me on that day is at the door. That's where they're hearing this. They're at the door. Master, Master, did we not prophesy in your name? Now, I talked about on that, but briefly, what is prophecy?
Saying what the word says.
Saying what the word says. And there's enough in here. That's all we need. We don't need to make things up.
Right.
Unfortunately, prophecy today is taught as foretelling, as prediction. It is not. It's speaking the word that is already in front of us. That's what prophecy is. So this is what they were saying. Did we not speak your word? Did we not do that? But not only that, didn't we do it in your name, saying, in the name of Yeshua, keep the commandments. In the name of Yeshua, believe. Alfonso.
Is the kingdom of heaven a 1,000-year reign, or when the New Jerusalem comes down, or is it the same?
All right. The kingdom of heaven that's what is futuristic for us from today. Okay, but the kingdom of heaven, Yeshua himself, the kingdom of heaven is within you. And the way I understand that, and the way I learn that, and the way I practice that, is I speak about the kingdom of heaven to come. Because you cannot put something out there that's not within you.
And it can't come until the 1,000 years are done. So it has to happen that way.
No, the kingdom of heaven comes at the beginning of the 1,000 years. That's what starts the 1,000 years. Is when the kingdom of heaven comes and sits on the earth. But it has to be within you, and has to be projected out. I've told all my family members, I've told you, many of you here, when this soul dies, here's what I want you to remember of me. I spoke about the kingdom of heaven that's to come. That's what I want you to remember me by.
So am I getting the kingdom of heaven mixed up with the New Jerusalem coming down?
No, the New Jerusalem is the kingdom of heaven.
So when it comes down at the end of Revelation, that's after the 1,000 years.
That's before.
Before.
Kingdom of heaven is at the first resurrection.
Yeah.
And it's set up, and the kingdom's there.
Let me just say that, John, you're thinking of Revelation 21.
Uh-huh.
Okay, you have to read all of 21 in order to pick up that.
Okay.
And I tell you what, that'd be a good one to discuss during Sukkot. Because that is one of the most misunderstood passages, in my opinion. Because it's read out of context. It's read out of understanding how we get to that point. Okay, so, how did I do for you, Alfonso?
Well,
Huh?
I get your point, yeah.
Okay, all right. So, goes on to in verse 22 of chapter 7 of Matthew. And in your name we cast out demons, and in your name perform many miracles. In your name we perform many miracles. And Yeshua himself told his disciples, which, speaking to us, is in that day or in that time, you will be performing more miracles and more good works than what you're seeing today. And honestly, my opinion, I think those greater works will be done, especially in the days between Yom Teruah and Yom Kippur. Also, before that, there'll be, but greater works, because it's like when you get down to those last, that's represented by 10 days, 10 days of awe, if you're, following some of the Jewish traditions. If you're down to that point, what greater way to bring back or just really make the point there's a kingdom coming than to have mighty works like what Yeshua did when he was here, like what Moses did when he was on leading the children of Israel. But you see, children of Israel saw all the works that Moses did and they still didn't believe. They saw all the works that Yahuwah did and they still didn't believe. Many people are going to see these mighty works, folks, and they're not going to believe. They're not going to believe that a kingdom's coming. Children of Israel didn't believe that they could be delivered into the land of Canaan. It's going to happen. And as Yeshua says, it will not delay. Verse 23. Here we go. And then I will declare to them, those that are knocking at the door, I will declare to them, I never knew you. Depart from me, you who practice lawlessness, or you do not practice the commandments, or you do not hold fast to the teachings in the Torah. Can I make it any plainer? I don't think so. But when you go back to chapter 25 and verse 12, he makes a statement there. He'll say to them, I do not know you. And that word know, in the Greek, I didn't write down the reference to it, but that word know there means I don't recognize you. I was looking at that again this morning. It says, I don't recognize you. Interesting. Why wouldn't the Messiah, why wouldn't the king, why wouldn't the groom recognize them?
They're not his.
They're not his. But yet they're among, and they're all virgins, but they believe in him. All 10 believe in the king. All 10 believe in Yeshua. All 10 believe that he's coming. Why doesn't he recognize them? Folks, it's in the oil. It's in the oil. Those 5 had to go look for more oil. And it took them a little longer than what they were expecting. Because then the king came. The groom came. And when they got back to the spot where they were supposed to meet him, he wasn't there. Wait, and the other 5 weren't there either. Nobody was there. As the old Dante saying goes, they were chasing windmills. Whatever that means. They could have stayed, and the possibility is, if nothing else, their lamps just would have burned out. Possibility is, though, he could have come as soon as they left.
Wow. A verse comes to mind right now as you say that. I will not snuff out a smoldering wick.
I will not snuff out a smoldering wick.
Wow.
But for some reason, they didn't have enough oil. For some reason, they left. They missed going in to the kingdom. Another way to look at it is they were trapped on the outside. Something that they were expecting and believing in for the longest time, they didn't make it. Now, Letty, yes.
When I read that scripture, what came to mind was that these other 5 virgins that didn't make it into the kingdom, perhaps the spirit of doubt and unbelief
Okay.
entered in, and they doubted the king's coming, and saying in their hearts, he's delayed, so let's kind of do our own thing kind of way, and in their hearts they just turned their backs, I think, and not prepared
Mm-hmm.
with, well, it's the oil, but in their hearts with what he was expecting them to have.
Right.
And,
Yeah, so what Letty was saying, just for the recording, what Letty was saying is that they had doubt, unbelief, in their hearts and in their minds.
And they thought they had more time.
And they thought they had more time. But see, that's what the children of Israel had when they came out of Egypt. They were expecting something to happen right then, but for them, it didn't. It took 40 years. But nonetheless, those that remained went in. Most of them, in those 40 years, that first generation that came out, except for a few, didn't go in. Perseverance. This is what it takes. Perseverance. Steadfastness. I don't recognize you. So it's no unusual piece of scripture to end this way. And what Yeshua says to his disciples. Verse 13, be on the alert then, for you do not know the day nor the hour. And I've gotten into a few discussions with people over the years. Nobody, but most people add another element in here. And the other element is the season, even the year. But I want to stay with season. they're right. Scripture's correct. We do not know what day or the hour of that day. But see, we know the seasons. We know the time of year. Because that's, Yahuwah, through his word, gave that to the children of Israel. To do what? Hold on to it. Hold fast. Friends, this is your salvation. This is your deliverance. This is your protection. Hold fast to this. Don't go to the right or to the left. Hold fast. This is what he's telling us to do. Hang in there. The kingdom is coming. I'm coming. He's going to come with great glory.
Yeah, just stand on the front.
However, before we can go into the kingdom, we have to pass through this day called Yom Kippur. Because if you don't pass through this day, if you don't pass through this understanding, you're not going in through the door. You're not going in through the door. Now, I would hate to see any of us standing at that door knocking. Because we know the season. We don't know the year, the exact year. We won't know that until other things are fulfilled. Other things in the spring have to be fulfilled yet. Then we will know what the year is. See, he doesn't say you won't know what year it is. He didn't say what month it was going to be. He just said the day or the hour. And we're doing our best. I believe we're doing our best to get our times and seasons and our lives in order according to what the children of Israel have been commanded to do. But Yom Kippur, everybody that's going to go into the kingdom has to pass through the day of Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur is a covering. It is the final step before entering into the kingdom. And our covering is Yeshua, yes.
Yeah, the bridegroom came at midnight, but it was like, that was an hour that, who's expecting the bridegroom to come at midnight? You think he'll come during the day or in the morning?
Right. And as Alfonso was saying, the bridegroom, came at midnight. Yeah, well, that's why they needed their lamp. Now, this is just a symbol. Okay, I'm just using this as an example. What's the oil? Huh? It's what?
Spirit.
Spirit? That's generally what people think it is. It's the spirit. It's not the spirit.
Something that's been pressed.
Huh? Come on, say it.
It's the word.
It's the word. I've got these I made these up years ago. For the commandment is a lamp. The commandment is a lamp. And the Torah, the word of Yahuwah, is the light.
Dave,
Yes.
it's something that's been pressed to our rock. The word. So the oil you have to press the oil to make it oil, right?
Oh, yeah, you gotta press the olive to make the oil, yeah, yeah. See, that's what we use oil, but it's more than that, let me go on with here. And reproving discipline is the way of life. That comes from Proverbs 6, verse 23. Proverbs 6, verse 23. For a commandment is the lamp, and the Torah, or the word of Yahuwah, is the light.
Where's that reference?
Proverbs chapter 6, verse 23.
Lamp is,
The lamp is okay.
Well,
The lamp is a commandment. Keep the Sabbath. That's a commandment.
But it's not till it's lit does it give off its light.
That's true.
So what's the light that lights the oil? Say if the oil's the commandment.
The light
Say if
is the
you're-
word.
If you come to believe in it, and you're, I'm
Well,
just
it
thinking,
says here,
like being born again or
Well,
something,
yeah,
and
I
then
think referring
that's
to-
when the light comes on,
yeah, but it says here in Proverbs,
right?
the light is the Torah, the word of Yahuwah,
which is light.
And Yeshua was the light.
Which is light.
which is light, yeah.
And Yeshua was the light because he was the walking, living Torah.
Okay. We go back to John to get all of that at the beginning of
Well, I
John.
think that's maybe what we're, like
Yeah.
people think, because he said he was the light, and he was the walking, living Torah. So, that is
Yeah.
the word.
I know, but if the oil is what keeps the light going.
But what is the oil?
Word.
It's the word.
Okay, where's the scripture for that?
I don't have it with me
Yeshua was
right
the
now.
word.
Okay, cause I thought it was 6:20, she thinks it's 6:23.
Well, that's what it is. It's describing the lamp and the light.
Right, and you're focusing on the oil,
Yeah. Well,
so that's why I wanted to know.
the light,
What's the
as
scripture
you,
for that? Not
Jeff,
counting.
as you brought up, the light, in order for this to be lit, there has to be oil in it.
Yes.
And the five had to go look for oil, because they would not have any light.
So they were out looking for the word.
Where they were out looking, okay, John, very good.
I
Because
think-
they were out looking for the word.
I just had a light come on. Alfonso said that the olive
Pressed.
has to be pressed.
Right.
The word has to be digested to become the oil, to be the lamp. If you're just a hearer and not a doer, you're not digesting the word.
And I think through the trials of life would be kind of a manner of reproving or a manner of pressing
Yes.
that would only verify the word,
That's exactly right.
or you would.
The
from
testing,
it.
the testing is what does it. The testing, you get these, we see it all through scripture. The testing comes along and sometimes it's really, really, really hard. How do you come through that testing? Apart from standing on the word, you're not coming through that testing.
Right.
And through
And you
testing,
know,
go ahead.
what's that?
I was just gonna say, through testing, something gets squeezed out.
That's right, and you walk different.
Hopefully it's oil.
It's not a bad thing to wrestle with the word, cause you walk different when you finish.
Well, if you wrestle with the word, then you could be an Israelite. Isn't that what the messenger said to Jacob when he was wrestling with him?
Yeah, Jacob, yeah, that's
He
right,
says, I'm gonna change your name to Israel. You wrestle with Yahuwah and you wrestle with man.
that's right.
Alfonso, you had something you wanna
Yeah, I
say?
was gonna ask you, what does the word trim mean? To light it or to trim
To-
the wick or?
Okay, usually when you trim your lamps, they're either still going and you just turn the flame up, or you may need to relight it.
Well, trimming it too is just, you have to trim the wick to make it burn because it gets
Right.
harsh on it. But trimming it would be bringing more light to the surface. If you open it up, more wick, gonna get more light.
Yeah.
So if you have trimming it, is getting the fullness of the word, maybe. you know.
Okay, I like that. Trimming it is, you know,
if
what
they
you
weren't
brought up,
trim-
Alfonso,
if they weren't
trimming it
trimming
is
their lamp.
getting more of the word. Or the fullness of the word,
There you go, that's better, yeah.
okay?
Cause you'd be getting the fullness of the light or the advantage of the letter.
Right.
Yeah.
the lamp, whatever.
Very good. So the takeaway is, today, let's be ready. Let's be aware. Now, I'm about ready to do the readings. About another 5 minutes or so.
Okay.
I wrote this little. See, if those of you that know Hebrew a little bit, does anybody know what Gomer Katima Tova is? Do you know what that is? I'm probably not pronouncing it right because,
I know good.
huh?
Tov is good.
Tov is good, yeah.
That's what they say for Yom Kippur.
Yeah, that's a Yom Kippur statement. Gomer Katima Tova. And this means a good and final sealing in the book of life. A good and final sealing. Meaning you're in. In other words, you're chosen. You're in the book of life. And that is one of the things that I want to talk about during Sukkot. Is the book of life. Might be an eye opener for some. And so, not yet. Let me just kind of bring some things up. Okay, I've got some of these for Sukkot. I'm just kind of changing gears now for the schedule for Sukkot. It's on the window back there, and I'll print more up, but if you want one, come and grab it. We're gonna do, I did this years ago, we're gonna do a Yom Kippur reading, or my Yom Kippur readings, and there's 8 of them. And it's a response. Some of you have been here when I've done this. So I'd like to, to go through this, and then we'll conclude. But, huh?
Hold on, is everything trying to
Katie, you want to hit that light over there, please?
catch up? Hold on.
It's all right. I'll talk some more. And then after we get done with this, since many are fasting today, and they won't, sundown won't be until 6:15 or 6:10, I think, or something, somewhere around there, to break the fast. So we set up a time from now until supper time, that maybe to do a walk around the property, if you're up to it. We didn't announce this last week, so you may not have proper shoes, but do the best you can. And there's benches set up all around, so maybe walk the perimeter. Now, let me warn you now, on the north side of the fence line, it's right down here, it's dusty. So if you want to cut through and go in front of the pile of debris and everything, you can do that, and then walk down, just stay on the path, and you walk all the way over to where the shower's beyond that, and then come back. There are benches set out all along if you need to take a break and take a breather. And so, just to let you know, so we'll leave here. I'd ask you, if you're gonna go this way, head over to the bench, and then head north.
Hey Moses, you're gonna lead us, right?
No. I'm gonna be a good shepherd.
Well, get out front.
No, shepherd doesn't go out front, the shepherd goes from behind.
Don't be that far behind.
But he leads us to green pastures.
Huh?
He leads us to
Exactly.
green pastures through the dust.
No, he pushes you to green pastures. If I were to go ahead of any of you, then the dust, if you go down there, then
Oh,
the dust
from the
would
cart,
be, yeah. So, and then leave this way, and then come back around and come back in through the east door.
Okay.
This kind of reminds me of another piece of scripture. He tells us the beginning from the end. When you can flip that around, he tells us the end from the beginning. We begin here, we end here. But if you want to take a shortcut, it's up to you. All right. Now, another thing, when she gets this up, another thing is, I've got extra copies here. What I was thinking, this came to me late, right before I came over here today, is to grab one of these, and if you do the walk, if you want to take a break, you can sit there and read one of these. Just kind of meditate on it. Remember, this is a time, Yom Kippur is a time of affliction. So remembering the affliction that was on the children of Israel when they came out of Egypt, remembering the afflictions that were on the children of Israel as they were in the land of Canaan, affliction to remember the affliction of the scattering of the children of Israel around the world. That is a form of affliction. And then what's ahead, what we're gonna have to deal with. So be praying, be thinking about it. Like I said, if you're gonna enter into the kingdom of heaven, you've gotta go through this day. You've gotta know what this day is about. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna ask you to stand with me, and I will do the reading, and then there'll be a response. And the response is gonna be either Yahweh or Yahuwah reigns on high. All right, so we'll start with the first one. Father Yahuwah, your throne is in heaven. You are righteous, and the upright will behold your face. Yahweh reigns on high. Father Yahuwah, we lift up your holy name and praise you for your faithfulness to our forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Yahuwah reigns on high. Father Yahuwah, your Torah is perfect. Your Torah restores life to the soul. Your testimony is sure and making wise the simple. Yahuwah reigns on high. Father Yahuwah, your kingdom will dwell on earth. Your kingdom is everlasting, and your dominion is throughout all generations. Yahuwah reigns on high. Father Yahuwah, your judgments are righteous, and your love we have been corrected, and we accept the atonement of your Son, Yeshua. Yahuwah reigns on high. Father Yahuwah, you have watched over us and revealed your grace and mercy through your Son, Yeshua. Yahuwah reigns on high. Father Yahuwah, you have sent to us the Ruach, the Spirit of truth, to lead us, protect us, and reveal your word, the Son and Son, Yeshua, our Messiah. Yahuwah reigns on high. Father Yahuwah, your glory shines brightly through your Son, Yeshua, upon his bride, who was made righteous by his obedient sacrifice. Yahuwah reigns on high. And the house of Israel says, we declare you king over our lives. Amen. All right. So, we'll say the blessing later, not right now.
Okay.
All right?
Let's take 5, because that's a long walk.
Okay, let's take 10. You don't all have to go all at once.
Bathroom break.
David, can I have one?
Oh, yeah.
What was Roey's real name?
Alan.
Oh, yeah, Alan.
How many you got?
I got plenty of these read. You want these? You can have one of those. You want one of those?
Hi, buddy.
Okay.
Congratulations. When do you go to Canada?
Like what? Dude.
We'll get 3,000 next week.
What did
That's
you-
about